Commander Replay. Ravnica Allegiance Week continues with Teysa Karlov. Get ready for some death triggers next on Commander Replay. I just want to say thank you to all of my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. For the launch of Ravnica Allegiance, I'm doing something a little bit special. I'm allowing everyone, including non-Patreons, to vote on which commanders they want to see most from Ravnica Allegiance. So as of the filming of this video, Teysa was in a commanding lead with 18 votes. So here we are today, working on some Teysa Karlov. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Welcome back, everyone, playing some Teysa Karlov. Take a look at our opening hand. This looks like it's going to be a good one. We've got a turn 1 Soul Ring, followed by a Blind Obedience to turn off our opponent's mana rocks. Yeah, I like this one. So we're going to go ahead and keep that one. And a Mistveil Plains coming down turn 1 for the Teysa Karlov opponent. So today I'm joined by 3 Patreon supporters. We have Chaotix2075 playing Teysa Karlov, so we'll have a little bit of a mirror match going on. Next up, we have Fenrir Unbound 13 playing Rakdos the Showstopper, and I believe he said it was Demons, Devils, and Imp Tribal. And then finally, we have Pikas playing Pure Imaginative Rascal and Toothy Imaginary Friend. So that's probably going to be Super Friends and +1/+1 counters, so we'll have to watch out for that one. There's a Birds of Paradise for the Pure and Toothy opponent. And that's going to bring it to our turn 1. There's a Harvester of Souls, a pretty sweet card. Let's drop down this Plains, play the Soul Ring, and we will pass turn. Here comes a Cultivate from the Pure and Toothy opponent. Sure, getting the ramp on. So that's going to bring it back to our turn. We draw into an Orzhov Basilica. Questions right here. Do we want to get the Blind Obedience down, or do we just go straight for our commander? Nah, let's go for our commander. So Teysa Karlov coming in. Teysa Karlov, by the way, is 2 white-black for a 2/4. It says, if a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So essentially Panharmonicon for death triggers, except the creature dying does not have to be controlled by you. Only the permanent that gets triggered must be controlled by you. Pretty interesting ability. And the second part says, creature tokens you control have Vigilance and Lifelink. Also pretty sweet. And so when I was building this deck, I realized that there are a lot of really good creatures with death triggers, and it was hard to pare down to 100 cards. I ended up cutting a few things that I really wanted. Cards like Ogre Slumlord, I really wanted in here. That one may need to come back in. I do have Yosei the Morning Star in here, so that one also seems really cool, but it doesn't have any token synergy, but double death triggers on that thing seems pretty good. The 6 converted mana cost slot for this deck was really clunky and had to cut some things that I really wanted. So there were just a lot of cards that synergize well with Teysa Karlov. I was very surprised about how many there were. There's a Hangerback Walker. We draw into a Polluted Delta. We'll be on 5 mana this turn. 5 doesn't seem to mean a whole lot for us, so I'm thinking Anointed Procession and the Basilica. We'll return the Swamp. Do we go on the Teysa beats right here? Opponent, we'll stay put. As much as I love attacking, this is the kind of deck that probably wants to preserve our life a little bit, and leaving ourselves open to the Hangerback Walker and Pure and Toothy just seems unnecessary, so... Oh, hey! Opponent's going to Anguished Unmaking on our Anointed Procession. Yeah, that seems like a pretty good play. We don't have any token makers just yet, but yeah. Anointed Procession can really do some work if we're getting double triggers. 1 or 2 tokens turns into many tokens. Hey, there's a Hellrider for the Rakdos opponent, and that's why we did not attack. Hellrider going on the attack. Let's see who it's swinging into. Hellrider's going to trigger one time. Ooh, swinging into the Pure and Toothy. Getting aggressive. Love it. So Pure and Toothy down to 36. Oh, that's a Doubling Season. Somehow Anointed Procession doesn't seem that bad. Doubling Season seems so much worse than our Anointed Procession. However, if they do double up tokens for any reason, then this Massacre Worm is really going to do a lot of damage. Opponent is currently getting quadruple counters on anything that they play from the Doubling Susan and Pure. Which may mean that we just have to play Massacre Worm just to get rid of Pure. Opponent can save their Hangerback Walker by tapping it, so that's not the best. There's an Elspeth. Oh man, Elspeth with that Anointed Procession would have been glorious. Play the Fetid Heath. Not exactly sure what we're going for yet. So like I said, a lot of 6 converted mana cost cards in this deck. And with Harvester of Souls, Massacre Worm, and Elspeth's Sun's Champion, we're going to have to make some decisions right here. I think I'm going to go for the Massacre Worm right here because the quadruple counters from Pure and Doubling Season means any Planeswalker can ultimate. That's kind of scary. So opponent's going to plus their Hangerback Walker just like we talked about. Their Hangerback Walker is now a 6/6. Yep, that's real big. That's exactly why we're making this play, because a couple more turns of that would be really bad. So opponent's going to get hit by 2 Massacre Worm triggers. Sounds good. Now, what's interesting here, too, is that they are tapped. So we're going to poke at them with the Teysa and see if the Hellrider wants to keep going that direction as well. Don't have an immediate answer to Doubling Season right now, so attacking seems like the least that we can do. There's a Profane Procession coming down for our opponent. Ooh, that seems good. It is a little pricey mana-wise, though. Without having something like a Black Market with a lot of counters on it, it's kind of a lot of mana to tie up into something. But I guess the flip side of it's pretty cool, too. Opponent's going to shoot our Massacre Worm, sure. We do have ways to get it back with this deck, so not too worried about it. Though I wish we had the Harvester of Souls in play first. What can you do? Anyway, so one of the things I noticed with black and white decks is that they tend to be very slow. It's not a color pair that can win quickly. It needs to generate a lot of value. It's generally going to be through a lot of sacrifice triggers, gaining a lot of life, using life to do stuff, sort of things. But just generating lots and lots of value is the strength of black and white. And in my opinion, other than the few infinite combo wins that exist in black and white, I don't know that there's like a lot of ways to end the game really quickly. So you really do need to be committed to that kind of controlling the board plan, generating tons and tons of value, using a lot of sack triggers if you're going to play a lot of black-white. Now, on the other side of that, I also haven't seen a lot of really well-built black-white decks. Most of the ones that I've run into have been on Magic Online, where I think people were just kind of messing around with Isley or Kambal. And when I saw a lot of those decks, they just didn't perform super well. With newer cards like Krav and Regna and new Teysa Karlov, I think I'm probably going to start seeing a lot stronger black and white decks. Is what I'm expecting to happen. So, I don't know. We'll keep an eye on that, see how things progress. Opponents discussing some politics in the chat, trying not to get their Hangerback Walker exiled. Hangerback Walker going to swing into the Teysa opponent. There's a Falconwrath Noble. Interesting. I think with that being the case, I'm going to go Falconwrath Noble, Blind Obedience. I really want to get the Blind Obedience down. It takes away a lot of explosiveness from our opponents in terms of creatures and mana rocks, so that's a thing that I like. Play the Blind Obedience. Play the Falconwrath Noble. We'll get an Extort trigger. We'll pay for the Extort trigger. And up to 43 we go. I am going to swing into the Obnixilis right here since it's not protected. Obnixilis, fairly dangerous. So, especially to what we have going on, a lot of 6-drop creatures. Repetitive removal is not a thing that I really want to be seeing from our opponents. So, Obnixilis down, and we'll pass a turn like that. There's a Crypt Gas for the Teysa opponent. Comes in tapped. Ooh, and a Bloodline Keeper. And that's why I want to get that Blind Obedience down, because now people are starting to cast creatures, so they're all coming in tap, which just makes it really awkward to block. A Bloodline Keeper, pretty sweet little card. Did not include it in my build of the deck. Like I said, there's so many things that synergize with Teysa that it was just hard to pick cards. Well, here comes Rakdos. Let's see what lives and what survives, and how many Falconwrath triggers we get out of it. Yep, this is going to be fun. Stop the show. Our commander goes down. We get 2 Falconwrath triggers. Spread these triggers around a little bit. I am happy that our Falconwrath Noble survived that exchange, because now as things continue to die, we can just keep generating value and ticking down people's life totals, so that makes me happy. Opponent gonna send Hellrider at us. Yep, that seems fair. Ooh, Trigon Predator. Nasty. That's a card that nightmares are made of. Trigon Predator, so good in Commander. And I would say it's probably really underplayed for how good it is. You get that thing down early and just start blowing up people's mana rocks, it is a big deal. Like, I may have to throw this Falconwrath Noble in front of the Trigon Predator, because I really don't want my stuff getting blown up. Opponent's discussing more politics. And pie. Oh, man, sending the Hangerback Walker at us. Yeah, we're just going to eat that one. We have worn down some of our resources. I think Harvester of Souls is going to be the next card. Just in case anything dies, we can start drawing cards, and that seems really important right here. Ooh, that's an Ancient Tomb. Interesting. So we're down to 35. All right, let's check on our land situation right here. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ancient Tomb can put us to 9. All the cards we can cast cost 6. Yep, I need to smooth out the mana curve in this deck pretty badly. All right, well, I think it's going to be the Harvester of Souls right here. Extort will trigger one time. So we'll Extort again, go back up to 38. We'll play the Polluted Delta, crack the Polluted Delta, just get a tap land. I'll get a Godless Shrine tapped. And we'll pass like that, no attacks. Gonna leave the Falconwrath Noble back and most likely block the Trigon Predator if necessary. Opponent's gonna Profane Procession on our Harvester of Souls. That went poorly. So opponent's starting to pick us apart a little bit. Ooh, Phyrexian Altar. Hopefully Trigon Predator takes out the Profane Procession, since opponent looks like they are looking to get a little bit frisky with the Profane Procession. Here comes a Bloodgift Demon. We could use a big draw. Wouldn't mind seeing like Ambitions cost, one of our card draw pieces. After a couple hits of spot removal, we're not looking so great. We've lost Massacre Worm, Harvester of Souls, and Teysa Karlov for a total of 16 mana down the drain, leaving us with only a Falconwrath Noble and a Blind Obedience in play. Opponent trying to decide who to attack, and it looks like it's going to be us. Oh man, I wish we had... we don't have Reanimate in the deck. I wish we did, because if we wipe the Hangerback Walker and they get all the tokens, and then we play the Massacre Worm, it would probably just kill the Pier and Toothy opponent. Okay, so Hellrider going into the other Teysa opponent, and Rakdos coming into us. Yep, Rakdos going to hit. Rakdos still a 6/6, pretty big. Opponent's doing some more politicking. There's a Lenoir Elves. All right, opponent going to send the Trigon Predator into the Teysa Karlov opponent, hopefully taking down that Profane Procession, because that thing is scary. Sadly, got us really good and got rid... Oh, man. Really needed that Harvester of Souls to stick around. So, Trigon Predator is going to trigger. Yep, goes after the Profane Procession. Seems good. All right. So, we draw into an Elenda the Dusk Rose. So, with that being the case, let's lay down the Ancient Tomb. Unfortunately, we won't be able to extort at all this turn, but we can recast our commander. So, Teysa Karlov coming back in. And cast Elenda the Dusk Rose. And if the board holds up like this next turn, I think we play the Elspeth and blow up all the big creatures. Doesn't really make sense for us to do any attacking. We kind of just need to sit back for now. Opponents discussing German heritage, Germans' ability to politic, Oktoberfest, and 99 Luftballons. You guys ever see that Family Guy episode where they make 100 Luftballons? It's pretty funny. Cathar's Crusade coming down for the Teysa opponent. We get extorted. Opponent goes extorting. Goes back up to 22. Opponent brings their own Teysa back to play. So lots of death triggers to be had. And that's going to trigger the Cathar's Crusade. Good news about that. If opponent gets all their stuff above 4 power, then we can blow everything up with Elspeth. And I like how that sounds. It's a couple turns away, though. It's turn 8, so I don't know how much is left of this game. Life total is still reasonably high. 2 opponents at 25, the Rakdos opponent at 34, we're at 26. There's some power on board, but there's not crazy amounts of power on board yet. Opponent's going to draw with the Bloodgift Demon. Yep, I would go for a Bloodgift Demon right now. Oh, opponent hit us with the worst fears. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that feels terrible. It's going to be tough to win now. Won't lie to you. Opponent going to do some attacking. Yep. Because opponent's sending the Hellrider into us, I'm actually going to double block. Potentially, opponent could do a bunch of really nasty stuff to us and use our Falconwrath Noble triggers against us next turn, so I don't like what any of that means. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe we'll just stay... Yeah, maybe we won't block. Yeah, we'll go no blocks. We'll see what happens. See if we regret that. We could double block with Falconwrath and Teysa on the Hellrider and then pump up the Elenda. Problem then is that then Elenda is going to be above 4 power, and then opponent can play the Elspeth. Actually, you know what, though? Opponent probably won't minus the Elspeth, because it would hit a lot of their stuff. Yep, opponent going to tick up that Hangerback Walker. Seems pretty good. It's up to 8 counters, and if it dies, they'll get doubled. One issue I noticed with this deck, too, is that a lot of the removal in the deck is conditional. Things like Elspeth, Massacre Worm, Elishnorn, which hit certain types of creatures, they don't hit all creatures. So depending on what your opponents are doing, they may get hit really hard by some of the removal, but they may not. Those cards seem to fit really well, but there wasn't really enough room in the deck to have to run a lot of the standard things like Austere Command and Damnation and all that stuff. I think I got 1 Wrath of God in there, was the only unconditional piece of removal, but also a lot of spot removal on the deck as well. Kind of actually hoping to draw a land in our turns, that way opponent can't use like our own removal or something against us, because that would be bad. Opponent going to send the Trigon Predator into the Teysa opponent, probably trying to go after the Cathar's Crusade. Yep, going after the Cathar's Crusade, and the other Teysa opponent down to 16. Life's getting pretty low for them. Ugh, opponent could search and fail to find. That would be terrible. Opponent announces our Elspeth. Opponent says they need a rematch. This isn't how their deck's supposed to play. Yeah, me either. Opponent gonna swing all of our stuff into the Teysa opponent. Good news there is that the only thing they can kill is the Elenda, although I kind of did want that Elenda. Yep, Elenda gonna go down.
So Elenda gets blocked by the Cryptghast. So 2 Falconwrath triggers, 2 Elenda triggers, which won't matter. Yep, opponent going to target us with our own Falconwrath triggers. That's annoying. But I guess it's probably better still having Falconwrath in play than not having it, I would guess. I still don't think they're going to blow everything up with the Elspeth. They would get hit the worst by it. So our life total is low now, though. And we're going to have no blockers. Ugh. Kind of need the other Teysa to play a board wipe. Oh, well, we get 2 vampires, so we can block a little bit. That's good. Yep, opponent's going to use that Ancient Tomb. Opponent going to play the Elspeth. Unfortunately, opponent does have enough to play our Solemn Simulacrum and not search for a land. Yep, here comes the Solemn Simulacrum. Let me guess, failed to find. So opponent gets to search. So opponent failed to find, which means target acquired. One thing that's annoying right now, too, is that we have no flying blockers, so we can't protect our Elspeth, which means it'll probably just die to combat from our opponent's stuff. Pious Evangel coming into play. We get extorted again. We're down to 20. We're still going to need a big draw on our next turn. I think opponent's about to wheel. I would take a new hand. Yep, opponent going to send their Rakdos into Elspeth. That is pseudo life gain at the very least. That is damage that we are not taking from Rakdos. Elspeth down. Yep, there's the Wheel of Fortune. So we're going to get to look at some new cards. Hopefully this opponent putting more counters on the Hangerback Walker. Ooh, opponent going to cycle a Decree of Pain? So that makes a bunch of Falconwrath triggers. We get to draw twice, which will get wheeled away. So we draw a command tower that's going to get cycled away. Actually, the draw ability on Solemn Simulacrum is a May, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, I think, you know what? We do have some reanimation elements, so looking at more cards is probably better than looking at less. Ashnod's Altar is cool, but now we will gain a lot of life back with all these Falconwrath triggers, so that is cool. However, we are open to a pretty big attack from this Hangerback Walker. So we take the Rakdos opponent down to 19. We go back up to 32. There's a Wrath of God, a Vampire Tutor, so stop on our upkeep. Ambitions Cost, and Revelark. A Revelark can get back Elenda. Can also get back Solemn Simulacrum and Falconwrath Noble. So we basically just need a sack outlet, and we can do some real crazy stuff. So I guess we can play Revelark and then play Wrath of God. That's like a sack outlet, right? Pure Imaginative Rascal coming back to play. Hadana's Climb into play, by the way. That thing can get pretty scary, honestly. Ooh, opponent has a Gaia's Cradle down now. That's scary also. Ooh, Hangerback Walker coming into us for 14. Gross. Let's play the Vampire Tutor right here. No Extort. Oh, man, we don't have a Reanimate. I need to put like a Reanimate in this deck. Something like that. If we could just get back Massacre Worm nice and easy, that would be super sweet. Ooh, Athreos is interesting. Because our opponent's life totals are so low that, like... Or we could just go Path to Exile. We could go Path to Exile, exile the Hangerback Walker, and then go Wrath of God. That seems like a pretty good plan, actually. I think I like that. So Path of Exile. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll have 11 mana. We'll play this Marsh Flats. Play Revelark. Extort will trigger. Gonna let that go just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll get Extort on the later half of our creatures. Crack the Marsh Flats. Get Scrubland. Path to Exile the Hangerback Walker. We can Extort on the next spell. So Hangerback down. Opponent very sad about it. And now it's Wrath of God time. And we're going to Extort that one. So 2 Revelark triggers. Let's get back Solemn Simulacrum, Elenda, and Falconwrath Noble. Oh, I should have put our commander into the graveyard. Oh, whoops. I forgot to do something. We'll get a Swamp with the Solemn Simulacrum. So board gets wiped. We still have some stuff left. I wish I sent our commander to the command zone. I forgot to do that. I had thought about it before the turn started, and then kind of once I got into that tutor, trying to figure out what to go for with that, then I forgot about it. Blood Art is coming back. Ooh, that's a Massacre Worm. That's going to get us. Yep, that's where I wish our commander was in. So that's going to hurt a bit. Opponent going to shoot some Blood Artist triggers at the Pier and Toothy opponent. I'm going to shoot them at the Rakdos opponent. So nice play by our opponent right there with the Massacre Worm. We will get to draw 1 card. It's a Reliquary Tower. Massacre Worm putting us back down to 12. Life total getting low. Everyone in the teens at this point, so starting to dwindle. And as everyone untaps, I'm sure they're going to be putting some power back into play. So opponent plays an Anointer Priest. Whenever a token enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Ooh, Vampiric Tutor for the Rakdos. Gross. The good news, at least, Blind Obedience still around, so the opponent can't just, like, haste a big creature down. They could go for something else nasty, though. They're playing Worst Fears, which is, like, a really nasty card, so wouldn't be surprised to see, like, Mindslaver next. Opponent gonna recast Rakdos. All right. Doing that while we don't have anything in play, so I'm down for that. Let's see what survives the Rakdos bit. Ooh, Massacre Worm down. Nice. Bloodheart is gonna trigger twice. Hopefully opponent points it at the Rakdos. Yup. So life total's getting really low. Oh, this is fun. It's not going to take too much for any one person to win the game. Just a little bit of power. Yep, there's the Boots. Boots not doing so much with Blind Obedience down. It'll protect him from spot removal, but can't get that big hit in this turn, so that's cool. Blind Obedience doing work. We're probably going to have to think about strip mining the Gaia's Cradle. Hadana's Climb's also flipped over. Might have to think about that one, too. Opponent going to recast their Toothy. There are worse things. The Winged Temple could be scary, quite honestly. It won't take a lot of power, just a little bit, and they can double it up and give a creature flying. We don't have any flying blockers currently, since all of our stuff keeps getting blown up. Alright, it's going to bring it back to our turn. See what we draw. Could use a big draw. Land tax, not a big draw right here. Let's get the strip mine down. Do a little mana count. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 14 mana. So if we play Ambition's Cost, we know that there's a lot of 6 drops in the deck. There's a couple 7 drops. I think we lost one of our 7 drops in the wheel somewhere. Oh, maybe we didn't. Question is, do we extort anything? I'm not going to extort the Ambition's Cost. I think that's the plan right here. Since we don't know what we're going to draw into. Kind of reformulate once we see what cards we're looking at. Requiem Angel's pretty sweet, right? Swords to Plowshares, also very sweet, although Boots on the Rakdos, so we can't stop that. So let's play the Requiem Angel. It gives us a nice 5/5 flying blocker. And so we extort one time. Brings us back up to 10. And then I think we sit on the Swords to Plowshares and extort is the plan right here. Tense game. Everyone's low. Dark Prophecy's pretty good in the token deck from what I hear. Teysa coming back to play. That's got to be getting pretty expensive. Comes in tapped. Double the death triggers if a board wipe should go off. Also double the Dark Prophecy triggers. Opponent sacks their creature to the Phyrexian Altar. Sacrifices their Blood Artist. So we get 2 Blood Artist triggers, 2 Dark Prophecy triggers. Shoot the Blood Artist triggers at the Pier and Toothy. So I think opponent just looking for some extra cards. Probably doesn't feel like they have what they need. Absolute Law. All creatures have protection from red. Interesting. That's interesting inclusion. Oh, opponent said it's filler. He said there were 3 or 4 cards that he didn't have access to before the game. So this just being filler until he said Kalitas, Lyra Dawnbringer, and what was the other one? Divine Visitation were the ones he was looking at. That's a Possibility Storm. Possibility Storm's interesting. Could be really good for us. A lot of 6 drops in our deck, a lot of 7 drops. We can turn our Pitiless Plunderer and Ulamog into potentially bigger creatures. Let that resolve. Can't shoot the Rakdos anyway. Ooh, all creatures have protection from red. Our Requiem Angel has protection from red, which means we can block Rakdos. That is sweet. Opponent going to play a Signet, and that Possibility Storms into a Mana Crypt. Mana Crypt in tapped. Yeah, get some. Blind Obedience. Still doing work. Been out since what? I don't know, turn 4? I think we played that. Ooh, Spiteful Visions. Spiteful Visions at low life totals. Even worse. Spiteful Visions turns into Wound Reflection in the Possibility Storm. So at the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn. Which means our Extort ability is actually going to be really good. Opponent going to send the Rakdos into the other Teysa. Sure. They're down to 13. What other instants are in our deck? We use Swords is in our hand. Enlightened Tutor is an instant. Vampiric Tutor is gone. Teferi's Protection is an instant. Anguished Unmaking is still in our deck. Utter End is still in our deck. Crush Contraband is still in our deck. Alright, decent instance. I'm going to chill with that Strip Mine until I see opponent cast something that makes a lot of creatures. Ooh, Tessa's down to 7. So if we can extort 4 times, they lose. Also, if we extort 4 times, Rakdos will lose. So more reasons for us to not use the Strip Mine right here. Though we'll need to get through the Pier and Toothy somehow. There's a Ristic Study into the Possibility Storm. It's a Crewfix. Crewfix pretty good. Where'd it go? It's not in play. Why isn't it in play? Opponent not cast it? Chooses not to cast Crewfix. Weird. Misclick maybe? Yep, they misclicked. It's okay though. I don't know if Crewfix saves them per se. Tezzeret's Gambit. I'm going to draw 2 cards, then Proliferate. Ooh, that brings opponent... They use the Phyrexian mana. They're down to 11. That goes into an Hour of Promise. Okay. Opponent says, is Rakdos annoying or what? Yeah, kind of. Removal from the command zone, pretty good. Opponent going to do some attacking. Okay. Here comes Toothy. So I want to get them to commit to use their mana on the temple right here. So we're going to block. Counterspell could be a problem. Oh, opponent just trying to draw cards. All right, so Toothy goes down. I'm okay with that. Well, that does mess up our swords. Does mess up our extort plan just a little bit. Let's see if they play another creature. They do go up to 6 cards. Here comes a Solemn Simulacrum. Okay, so that gives us something we can swords. That's good. Actually, so never mind. Solemn Simulacrum goes into the Possibility Storm. Scavenging Ooze, kind of gross. So Scavenging Ooze still gives us something we can swords though. So with the Wound Reflection trigger on the stack, we're going to swords the Scavenging Ooze. That'll trigger Extort and the Possibility Storm. Opponent going to exile our Massacre Worm. Yep, that seems like a good call. Although the Scavenging Ooze actually isn't going anywhere. We get the Possibility Storm. Crush Contraband, you say. Probably some things worth hitting. Gonna go for the Lightning Greaves and the Doubling Season. With the Possibility Storm out, we actually get 2 spells per cast, so that's gonna be really good for extorting right here. That's a sweet little combo. Wound Reflection, Possibility Storm, Blind Obedience, yeah. Out of white-black mana, unfortunately. It's gonna bring it back to our turn. We draw a land. Cast the... make sure we use our lands the most efficient way possible. Use the Ancient Tomb right here. Possibility Storm will trigger. Extort will trigger. We get a Grim Hair Specs, sure. Cast that. Another Extort trigger. We'll use white. We only have one white card in hand. So pay for the Extort. That's 1 damage to our opponent on Extorts. Grim Hair Specs down. Into play. Blind Obedience gonna trigger again. Extort again. Let's make double white right here with the Fetid Heath. Land tax into the Possibility Storm, Blind Obedience. Dictate of Erebos is a card. Play the Dictate of Erebos. We'll extort again. Is that 4 extort triggers, I think? Dictate into play. Extort one more time. So opponent at 1, the other opponent at 4. That would be 4 extort triggers. So that means that they'll be dead, and I think we just to be safe, since we don't have that much else going on, play this Reliquary Tower. Oh, we don't... Oh, nope, we do have enough mana. Okay, just checking. Whew. So we use our mana efficiently like I had planned. Possibility Storm going to trigger one more time. We get, Worm Coil Engine, nice. Oh, we forgot to cast it. Oh, that's not good. Well, don't think it's going to matter. So Teysa opponent down. 1 floating, go to combat. Actually, you know what? If Rakdos doesn't survive, then the Wound Reflection won't trigger, and Peer and Toothy's going to get another crack at it. But we're at 26, and we have some stuff in play, so I feel pretty good about what's going on. So Rakdos down. Opponent's going to swing in with the Scavenging Ooze. Sure. I guess we block with the Hair Specs. Nope, you're going to make it flying. Okay. Yep, probably should have shot the temple right there. It's an 8/8. Has room to get bigger. Actually, they should have plussed it first. If they plussed it a couple more times, it would take, what, 13? 1, 2... No, they don't have enough green mana. Okay. Well, just sit back and enjoy the ride. Hope opponent doesn't have anything crazy. That's the plan right here. Opponent exiling as many creatures as they can. Trying to pump up that Scavenging Ooze. They're out of green mana, so that's good. It does have flying. We don't have any flying blockers. And they just scoop it. Wow, nice. We had an Archon of Justice coming. It's kind of cool. It had only Heroic Intervention and a bunch of lands. Wow. So, Teysa Karlov. Interesting commander. Like I talked about, lots and lots of creatures synergize with that death trigger. The problem is choosing exactly which ones you want. I realize that we probably need a couple more token producers in the deck. Also, the deck needs to be just a little bit lighter on 6 drops. One of the things I forgot too, Karmic Guide was in the deck, and then I pulled it out, and then I realized that Karmic Guide is part of the Infinite combo with Sack Engine, Karmic Guide, Revel Arc. So I'll probably need to bring that back in. In fact, we'll do that right now. It seems... I had Palace Siege in there, which Palace Siege is kind of cool too, but the Karmic Guide combo seems much better than that. Things I would like to get into this deck, would love to get like Reanimate into this deck. We had that Massacre Worm in our graveyard because we cast it early and it got blown up. But if we could have gotten that thing back somehow, that would have done a lot of damage against the tokens that would have gotten produced off of the Hangerback Walker. So probably need to add something in, but like I said, it's just really hard to figure out what you want in this deck. But yeah, lots of interaction and lots of parts that interconnect in this deck. Right now, I'm also running a lowly 36 lands, so I'm running a little bit greedy. Though I am running a lot of ramp. Honestly, I should probably switch out one piece of ramp for just a land. Just to kind of balance things out a teeny bit. But Yeah, so this deck still needs some balancing, still needs a little bit of fine-tuning, but there's a lot of power here. Like I said in the game at some point, black and white decks, they're great at generating value, so they probably need to go long. I didn't see how many turns that game was at the end, but it was definitely a longer game. They don't get there particularly fast unless you're comboing off. Just some things to think about if you're planning to build this deck, but it is really sweet. There's a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, so many things that interact, things that I hadn't even considered when I was building the deck. Like I knew about the Aristocrat style stuff, but then you start looking at like Archon of Justice, Boreas Charger is a spicy one, Wormcoil Engine I hadn't thought about, Overseer of the Damned is pretty sweet, just a lot of cool things. Massacre Worm I didn't think about initially either, and that's a pretty cool one, so just a lot of really cool synergies with Teysa. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.